the angel then permitted Moses to pursue his journey. In his mission to Pharaoh, Moses was to be placed in a position of great peril. His life could be preserved only through the protection of holy angels. But while living in neglect of a known duty, he would not be secure, for he could not be shielded by the angels of God. So the result of neglect of a known duty, and I want everybody to put their name here. So if I put my name here, it would read, Tasha was to be placed in a position of great peril. Her life would be preserved only through the protection of holy angels. But while living in neglect of a known duty, she would not be secured, for she could not be shielded by the angels of God. So it is important for us to obey if we want to be shielded by the angels of God. So how does this apply to us today? In the time of trouble, just before the coming of Christ, the righteous will be preserved through the ministration of heavenly angels, but there will be no security for the transgressor of God's law. Angels cannot protect those who are disregarding one of the divine precepts. Deuteronomy 5:29, one of my favorite verses in the Bible. Oh, that there was such an heart in them, that they would fear me and keep all my commandments always, that it might be well with them and with their children forever. Many have expected that God would keep them from sickness, so this is where all the medical missionary work ties in. Many have expected that God would keep them from sickness merely because they asked him to do so, but God did not regard their praise, because their faith was not made perfect by works. And we can look at James chapter 2, and this will explain it to us very clearly, how faith without works is dead. There is no evidence of faith if there is no works. God will not work a miracle to keep those from sickness who have no care for themselves, but are continually violating the laws of health and make no efforts to prevent disease. And that is why the prayers and the demonstrations that they were talking about in the definition would not work, because there has to be action. God will not work in a miraculous manner to preserve the health of persons who are taking a sure course to make themselves sick by their careless inattention to the laws of health. So, disease shall not come if the laws of health are not violated. Essentially, disease shall come if the laws of health are not violated. That is what it means when it says, the curse causeless shall not come. The transgression of the physical law is the transgression of God's law. Our Creator is Jesus Christ. He is the author of our being. He has created the human structure. He is the author of the physical laws, as he is the author of the moral law. And the human being who is careless and reckless of the habits and practices that concern his physical life and health sins against God. That is very serious. So, can you remember the reasons why we must be obedient to the laws of health? Anybody? So that the curse don't fall on us. So that our witness to others will be effective. Let's see. Because they are God's laws. That's the first one. Because they are God's laws, we must obey them. Disobedience lessens our influence when we try to witness to others. And God's angels cannot protect us while we are neglecting one known duty. So who should learn these simple remedies? Because remember, we're really talking about, this is an introduction to natural remedies. How slow men are to understand God's preparation for the day of his power. He works today to reach hearts in the same way that he worked when Christ was upon this earth. In reading the word of God, we see that Christ brought medical missionary work into his ministry. Cannot our eyes be opened to discern Christ's methods? Cannot we understand the commission he gave to his disciples and to us? Children too? Should children be a part of the training? Our church schools are ordained by God to prepare the children for this great work. Here, children are to be instructed in the special truths for this time and in practical missionary work. They are to enlist in the army of workers to help the sick and suffering. Can children take part in the medical missionary work? Children can take part in the medical missionary work and by their jots and tittles can help to carry it forward. By them, God's message will be made known and his saving health to all nations. Then let the church carry a burden for the lambs of the flock. Let the children be educated and trained to do service for God. So who are called to be medical missionaries? All of us. Everyone is called to be a medical missionary, even children. I just added this morning. If anybody watched Devaney this morning, they would recognize this quotation. In the great judgment day, those who have not worked for Christ, who have drifted along thinking of themselves, caring for themselves, will be placed by the judge of the whole earth with those who did evil. They receive the same condemnation. To every soul a trust is given. Of every one the chief shepherd will demand, where is the flock that was given thee, thy beautiful flock? And what wilt thou say when he shall punish thee? That's it. Thank you very much for listening.